Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's album review. Today, we are back on the heavy metal trail, thanks to Mr. Jeff Budd, who has requested yet another album for us to listen to. So let me share the screen with you and show you exactly what he has requested for us. So hopefully you can see that. So I was trying to make it a bit bigger. There we go. So laugh out loud. The extreme genres of of metal, do usually take a while to warm up to. That said, now that I have a sense of your taste, I would highly suggest Evergrey, The Storm Within. These guys don't really fit any specific metal molds or stereotypes. Their music is super melodic and Brett, can you read that word?
Melancholic, clonic, clinic.
Thank you. And their vocals are to die for. The band also hails from Gothenburg, but could not be further in style than At the Gates. The fact they're completely different to At the Gates got to be a good thing. You will not be disappointed. So that's a big call, Jeff. Right? So
yeah, okay.
No pressure, no pressure. So there we go. Something a bit different, hopefully, at least compared to what we listened to last time with At the Gates. I have found the album on Spotify, so I'm just going to go ahead and share that with you as well. Let's have a look. So it's almost an hour long, the album, 58 minutes, 27 seconds. Just trying to look at Brett's face for that. He seems to be okay with that.
When you've done albums that are like 2 hours long,
yeah, so there's not many tracks on here really for an hour-long album, only 11, but they're all most of them are pretty long. Well, relatively long, I'd say, yeah. Most of them are over 5 minutes. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to it, but kind of quite intrigued as to what it can be. After the horror show last time with At the Gates. So yeah, the fact they're supposedly completely different, kind of a more melodic, is definitely a good thing for me. What about you, Brett? You got high hopes?
I'm putting a lot of trust in Jeff. I'm going to give myself high hopes here. I'm going to put my trust in Jeff and look to hopefully enjoy this one.
Yeah. So all hope lies on Jeff, really. Don't let us down, Jeff. we know you're watching. So yeah, we'll be back with you guys in a second to let you know how we got on with the album. So we're back. We've listened to the album, and I will go ahead first and tell you what I thought of it. So I found it a really interesting album, I would say, that offered so much. Very heavy metally in parts. It had ballads in parts. It was quite soft in parts. So it really did seem to offer quite a bit. I couldn't always get my head around it. There was so much going on. I almost kind of felt drained after listening to this. I've actually only just finished listening to it about 15 minutes ago. And it ended up being a sort of quite heavy on me, not just in the sense of heavy, it was heavy metal, just, kind of like took quite a bit of energy out of me. I don't know, like it's hard to explain. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I generally prefer the songs at the start. We'll get more into that a little bit later on. The album progressed, and I'd say it got more intense. So overall, it was a bit of a mixed bag. There was some sort of stuff I kind of quite liked in a way. There's some stuff I didn't really like as well. It was all, yeah, a bit kind of just a lot going on. But certainly if we compare it to the last album we listened to from Bite at the Gates, this was definitely much better, and certainly a lot more I can talk about within the review. And I guess the most important thing is there was no growling. It was proper singing, so that's always going to help. Brett, what did you think?
Yeah, I think your analogy of saying it's a mixed bag is actually a good one, and probably the best thing to sort of explain it. There was sort of lots of different elements going on. Did it all work together in some regards? In parts it did, in other parts it didn't. Yes, we've got the sort of heavy metal bits. Yes, we haven't got the AK growling thing. We've got some proper singing with that there. And then you had your sort of I wouldn't call it relaxing, but you know, the sort of your downbeats, nice tempo kind of thing. There was times where I felt a lot of the songs were, it followed the same suit, was quite similar, but saying that there was some variation in difference with the songs as well. There were a couple of them that I really enjoyed as well. And I think it's one of these albums, I think as we go through the tracks, we delve into some of them, it probably explain that a bit better. So in terms of just comparing it purely against At the Gates, yeah, listen, this was definitely for me an improvement on At the Gates, and definitely preferred it. Is it my favorite heavy metal album we've listened to? Probably not. I would still probably say the Sabaton, the Great War is still my favorite overall, even though this had a lot of elements in this which I probably did prefer in comparison to other ones. So yeah, I think overall, I think that's quite positive, and glad that it's been brought to our attention.
Yeah, so if we go through the songs, the first one was Distance. So the first thing to note was I was happy to hear normal singing rather than growling. That's definitely a good sign. I quite like the song, but just not so keen on the heavy instrumentals during the non-singing parts. So it was kind of like when he was singing, it wasn't like that heavy. It was quite, his singing was quite, what's the word? It was, you could easily hear it. It was quite clear. It wasn't sort of drowned out by any of the heavy kind of, you know, metal stuff. So I like that. And I'd say overall, it was an encouraging start to the album. And I like the choir at the end as well, just as the song was finishing. So yeah, I'd say, you know, in fact, probably thinking about it now, it's probably actually one of the best songs on the album.
Yeah, this was quite good. I think this song probably sums up the whole album. And I said you had that whole mixture of stuff. I think even right at the start, it felt quite atmospheric. And then we had sort of the piano. I think this is what, yeah, with the piano, with note just playing over and over again. I think it's a bit weird what's going on here. And then we get into sort of the heavy metal bit. And then I said, you've got your singer, who's obviously not growling. I've put this a lot through all of them. And Jeff, if he's listening, he's probably going to hate what I'm going to say about this, or any other heavy metal fan as well. But the singer, I couldn't help thinking it sounded a lot like Phil Collins. So throughout the songs, that's all I could picture in my head. Now, whether that's a compliment or not, they'll probably think it's not. But yeah, it sounded a lot like Phil Collins. And then, as you said, you had the instrumental for lots of heavy metal bit. But again, it wasn't, we've definitely heard a lot worse and a lot more intense kind of music. But I'd say it did start to feel quite long, quite early on this first song. But then the ending was really nice. The children singing at the end, and then the piano bit as well at the end.
Yeah, next up we had Passing Through. I'd say not quite as keen on this compared to the previous song, but it still had that kind of similar style to it. To me, it came across more as a rock. It felt more like a rock song rather than a metal song. This one, I'd say, wasn't as heavy as the previous song. Even though I didn't actually like it maybe quite as much, but it was still decent. And yeah, overall not bad, especially for this genre of music. So yeah, I'm still fairly impressed by that one.
Yeah, so again, I'm still here. Still sounds like Phil Collins, and I'll just say he sounded like Phil Collins throughout the whole thing. So I'll probably stop saying that going forward. And I've written exactly the same things you hear. I sort of put it's almost like a pop /rock kind of feel, rather than heavy metal. Maybe pop's a bit too one on the scale, but it almost felt like it could have been like a pop rock song for me. And again, you had the sort of instrumental bits, but again, it didn't feel too intense. It was, loud. It was strong to listen to, but from other things we've had, it definitely didn't feel as bad as it could have been. So, yeah, quite right, that one.
We had Sunday, had a very sort of heavy metal start. It sounded like the chorus was being sung in unison. Like it didn't seem like he was singing on his own. I don't know if it was the effects or if there were other people involved in it. The song's actually all right. And I'd say it wasn't nearly as heavy as it threatened to be at the start. So it started off like with the instrumental really heavy, but actually as the song progressed, it wasn't actually that heavy really, as I thought it was going to be. Again, it even felt more like a rock song, and it was certainly listenable. And I think that was a bit of a kind of trend throughout some of these songs where it seemed really heavy in parts in terms of the instrumentals, but then during other parts of the song, it just kind of quietened down and it just sort of turned into more of a kind of nice-ish kind of song kind of thing. It wasn't true for all the songs, but it was certainly a trend that I noticed.
Yeah, it's a good trend that, sort of agree with that one there. And I think even the rocky metal bits, I know we keep saying rock, we know it's not rock music, it's just how we're referring to it. Even those bits, to me, I don't find them that intense. They definitely are intense, but not as intense as I said as previously as it could be. So yeah, this one you had that sort of atmospheric fear, and yeah, good point we made. So when we're into the metal bit, and you think, okay, so, but yeah, it's sort of toned down a little bit. And as I said here, it didn't feel as hardcore as it could have been, and still quite very listenable. And this one, yeah, you really distinctly had that chorus bit as well. So again, as kind of said, it's almost like where it pops on where you have the chorus so you can listen to understand. And then again, really nice effect with the piano in the background. And then a really good guitar solo bit.
Yeah, so the next one, I think I misread it. I thought it was ashtray, but it's a stray. So a very metally start again, right from the off. A bit of a shouty chorus, which isn't really my thing. This was my least favorite so far, but it was still more than listenable. Certainly not overly metally. I think the same kind of thing again, where it started off very, very metally, but then kind of never really progressed into anything ridiculously loud and horrible to listen to. So the singing's actually now become a lot softer. Then the heavy metals come back. So I'm just kind of a bit confused by this song. Kind of just a lot going on, quite dramatic. And I think this could have been said for quite a few of the songs, where there's sort of changes a lot within the songs, quiet parts, loud parts, and all things going on. And yeah, this was definitely one of those songs.
Yeah, this was one that you sort of didn't know if you're coming or going on this one. I kind of put a question mark whether I like this one or not. I think I would probably need to go back and listen to it again. But I should also say I also misread it just like you did, and I thought it was ashtray as well, funny enough. But yeah, like I said, this is one where again you have the heavy metal, but you had then sort of the relaxing bit, the Phil Collins singing, the piano, that's the thing. But like I said, it really jumped from one to the other. And like I said, there was bits I think the reason for which I think the bits I really liked, and the bits I didn't like, I really didn't like. So it kind of merged it all over there. But I think I probably need to listen to it back and just sort of, and it'd be interesting probably to go back and listen to this album again without having to think too much into it or write review down and just see what I get from it that way around.
So then we had The Impossible. Very, very different starts here. So slow singing with sort of light instrumentals. Turns out it was a ballad, and it was okay. Nice to kind of sort of give my ears a rest. I seem to remember though with the previous metal album we listened to at the Gates, they also kind of did a slower, I think 2 slow tracks on there. So yeah, same sort of thing here with this one. It's quite a short track as well. Well, it wasn't that short, but in terms of the album, compared to most of these tracks were over 5 minutes. I think this one was like 3 minutes or something. So yeah, not bad. This one, interesting to listen to.
Yeah. So yeah, you had that sort of piano intro, and it's obviously really low beat, really, and again classic. Again, I think I did it, and I wrote here about like at the gates, where okay, when is the when is the metal and the music going to come in? It's obviously coming. It's obviously building up to it, and it just never came. It just never came. So it stayed like that throughout. And this is definitely my favorite track so far. I think this is probably my favorite track on the album, this as well, actually. And I think for me personally, if all the songs were like this, would have actually really loved the album. But again, I can't criticize and then say, oh, there's got to be variation, and then just have something just because I like that sort of style to have it all the way through. But no, this was a really, really nice song to listen to.
But unfortunately, I think this was, for me, it's kind of like was like a marker as to like almost sort of like saying, okay, now we're going to change up a little bit, because the next song, My Allied Ocean, it had a really extreme metally start, which kind of was a bit of a shock after listening to a nice kind of slow song. And the difference with this one I found was that the lyrics, when he was singing, he was singing over the metal, the loud instrumental music, whereas with a lot of the previous songs, even though there was metal involved, when he was actually singing, it was quite clear to hear his voice because there wasn't much instrumentals going on in the background, if that makes sense. So for me, this is my least favorite song so far, and the most metally song as well. And in fact, possibly it might even be my worst song on the album. So yeah, I didn't like this one.
Yeah, I can't really say much more different to that. It's exactly what I put here. My least favorite so far, and maybe it's because it was straight after that one. Maybe it felt more intense. But yeah, the point that you made there was really, really good actually. Where the singing was over sort of the heavy metal bit, where normally you have your heavy metal bit goes on, and then it goes into the more sort of I know I'm using the word relaxing. It's not the right word. I get that, but the less metal bit, more relaxing bit, where he's singing and it's more enjoyable there. So yeah, I have to look back again, but this could also be my worst one on the album as well for me. Shame after the one before is for me is my favorite.
So then we had In Orbit. This was featuring Floor Jansen, who, after doing a bit of research, which wasn't difficult, you just go onto Wikipedia, as the lead vocalist of Nightwish, which is interesting because Nightwish is actually, I don't know if that rings a bell, we're actually doing a reaction video to a Nightwish song, which someone requested. I don't think it was Jeff. I think it was someone else, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we're about to record that. The next thing we're going to do in a few days, we're actually going to record a Nightwish song for our reaction video. And yeah, this was the lead vocalist of that group. So as the song progressed, the woman hadn't really kind of been involved that much, but I enjoyed her brief part, and I'm hoping for more from her as the song progressed. I don't think I'm writing this halfway through. There's a long instrumental. It was metally, but not overpowering. I never really heard that much from the woman, to be honest. I actually found this kind of one of my least favorite songs. Like, even though, as I say, it wasn't overpoweringly metally, but I never really got into this one, to be honest. A bit disappointing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, again, I put a question mark next to this one. This kind of reminded me a bit sort of like with the earlier tracks there. So again, there was sort of a lot going on. But I think maybe because the one before was really, I really did enjoy this one. Probably felt a lot better. Really enjoyed Floor when she came into it. Again, I know she wasn't in it much, but when she was there, and I said I do have a soft spot with like nice female singers in tracks like this. So she probably made a bit better for me there in those regards. So actually, I didn't mind it, but like I said, I think looking back, I really need to probably want to go back and listen to this album, some of these songs, for a second time, really.
So next up was The Lonely Monarch. This one seems better so far. The singing style was more similar to the earlier songs on the album, which were the ones I preferred. Felt much more like a hard rock song rather than a heavy metal song, and definitely much better song than the previous few. Not nearly as heavy, and I thought the singing was on point. So this was a pretty good one.
Yeah, I kind of put this as sort of a real average song for the album, sort of in that middle ground. Again, I like you, I have to say, it kind of reminds me of the earlier ones again. A lot going on. We had the piano bits as well. We have the sort of relaxing bit. We have the heavy metal bits there. But I think I found this one did flow a little bit better. So it was generally sort of all right and just reminded me of the early ones. But I also feel maybe I'm also getting a bit tired of some of the same sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, so the next one was The Paradox of the Flame. So it's a ballad so far, featuring Karina England. Couldn't find any information on her. So despite it being not that metally, I'm not actually enjoying it that much. I really appreciate the variety, though. The fact it did feel very different. Then the metal did kind of start to become a little bit more prominent, but it was quite slow metal. But I don't know, I found it a little bit kind of dreary. I don't know, I didn't quite get into this one again. A bit like the In Orbit song from a couple of songs back. They're kind of like potentially songs that I thought that you'd think I probably would like in this kind of album, because they're not as metally, not as intense, but I don't know, for some reason, didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I maybe would have done.
Okay, again, I quite like this one. I think again, it praised the fact it was something a bit different to what we've been having already, and I said I quite like the relaxing thing, the singing across from there as well. What have I got here? And then there's some really nice sort of instrumental bits, sort of kind of going towards the end. So I think in comparison for all the songs on the album, like I said, I would put this as one of the better ones for me personally. And I said like the variety, and again, I have also put, is it feeling a bit too much with the heavy metal side of things, but not too bad.
Okay, so this one disconnects. I think this is actually my the song where I've got the most notes. So get ready. I'll try not to bore you. Very strong metally start, shouty, not my style so far. And again, just remembered it's featuring Floor Jansen again. Then it started to get quiet. So now I'm sort of thinking, oh, actually, perhaps it will be okay after all. Then here we go again. The metal's begun. I just kind of found it a really interesting song. It was like really heavy at times. Other times it's really slow and reminds me of Meatloaf. I say that, but I put in brackets perhaps because I don't really know much about Meatloaf. Obviously, I know like a few of their big hits and stuff. But it's just like, for me, it was like a song full of variety and changes. I never kind of didn't know if I liked it, didn't like it. There was so much going on. But I think that's a good thing for a song that's 7 minutes long. It's the longest song on the album. So I think it worked. That there was a lot going on. Otherwise, it would have been really boring if it had just been the same kind of tempo, same thing throughout. So I think when you do when a singer or an artist, whatever group, band makes a long song, I think it should be like this, where there's quite a bit going on. So in that regard, I'd say, yeah, it was all right, this one.
Yeah, so yeah, as one of the longer ones here. So as you said, it was meant to feature Floor Jansen in this one. I don't remember hearing her at all in this. I was going to ask a question. I thought, did I miss it? Was it long? Was I just getting tired? Did I get there? And all I can think is, right, when's she going to come in? When's she going to? And for me, if she did, she couldn't have been there very, very long. And that's the only sort of notes up in my one. Where's Floor? Where is she? Where's Floor? Why is she not? Have I missed her? And that's what I was. It's just me writing that pretty much for all of my notes, just asking where Floor is because I missed her.
That's a shame. I think you might have missed kind of the bigger picture. You're just waiting for Floor. No, it was all right. This one was quite a bit going on. The next one was The Storm Within, which is the name of the album as well. So you've been talking there about what do you call him? You said it
Phil
sounds
Collins.
like Phil Collins. So I put here, sounds like Brian Adams.
Okay.
um, Particularly in this song. I like the singing bit, but not the heavy metal in instrumentals so much. When they really get going, it's a little bit too heavy for me. But the singing was good. That's all I've really put for this one. I just think by the end of this now, that the last song of the album, my head's kind of all over the place. It's just found it, as I said earlier, it's been just quite an intense kind of album. That the sounds of all the different things going on. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of took a bit out of me.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the points I put here. I kind of said if this song was probably at the start of the album, I probably would feel a lot better about it. Again, it had sort of a lot going on, and again, that's why I keep repeating now because it's my reflection on it. I would like to listen to some of these songs, again, maybe not listen to all in the same go, and really just without having to sort of concentrate too much on each one as we go along. I generally thought you were going to say Phil Collins as well. A second there, I thought you had to put the same sort of person of what he sounds like. But I said, yeah, and I put here sort of likable, but I think it's just been too much a lot so far. And yeah, I think again this had a good mixture. I think I wouldn't mind more songs like this, where he said you do have a lot of sort of the metal, the relaxing bit there. And that's why I said actually, if this was earlier on, I probably would have enjoyed it a bit more than I probably have from here. So it's probably been a bit harsh from it, just because it's the last song on the album. And I said the one before was also quite long, so it was probably a bit too much. So maybe I should have listened to it in two parts, or like I said, maybe go back and just listen to it again.
Okay, so that concludes our album review. Just to summarize, I'd say it was it was fairly decent. It was in a way. Yeah, I was happy to listen to it. So thanks for that, Jeff. And yeah, as I said earlier, the elements of it I kind of quite liked. Elements that I didn't like so much. But I just thought it offered quite a lot of variety, which is always a good thing in an album. I never really got bored of it as such. So yeah, probably not my favorite metal album we've listened to so far. You mentioned earlier there the First World War album, so I can't remember the name of it. And
The Great War.
Yeah, the Great War. There's a few others as well we've listened to. I think there's one in particular, the second metal album we listened to, perhaps. Which is also symphonic. It's pretty decent. So yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Could have been a lot worse. I'll tell you that. Brett, what did you think?
Yeah, just sort of what I was saying before. I think the fact I'm happy, would like to listen to again is probably the best compliment could probably give it. Because definitely, there's other things we've listened to and just wouldn't even want to put ourselves through it again. So that's the best compliment I can give it there. And as you said, there's definitely a lot of elements that were really enjoyable and I really, really liked. Ones that were a bit that I didn't enjoy as much, but like I said, they could have been a lot worse. So depth potential and the fact that it was singing in there that was enjoyable helped a lot with the album. But like I said, I think I will go back and actually listen to this and just sort of a more, I was going to say in a relaxing way, but it's also always one to really relax to, but without having to do a write-up on it.
One thing we haven't talked about actually at all is the meaning, the lyrics. Again,
That's a good point.
I had it in my mind, but again, I didn't want to look at like the actual lyrics themselves. I wanted to see, could I understand them? And I couldn't really, even though the lyrics were actually quite clear for the most part. They weren't usually drowned out by the metal too much. So maybe no excuses from me this time, but I don't know. I just struggle with understanding lyrics and, well, especially whilst I'm trying to review the sound and stuff and everything going on. What about you? Did you make out anything?
Yeah, no, exactly the same as you. And we talk about it like every other video, it seems now, where we know we're not great at, picking up the lyrics. But I think for something like this, where there's so much There was a lot of atmospheric elements to it. There was a lot of other in terms of the music.
I know what you're going to
Feel
say.
like
You're
you
going
could
to
pick
say
up-
it's not that important to understand the lyrics.
No, not at all. Not at all. Just felt there was enough to pick up from that. And actually, you could probably get a good feel from the music itself than having to know about sort of the lyrics as well. So kind of what you thought I was going to say, but it probably worded differently. But I think that's the truth is that there was a lot going on. There was enough just from the music to have to delve too much into lyrics.
Right, guys. So we are at 91 subscribers at the time of recording this, but this video will be coming out next week. Well, when you're watching it now, we would have been speaking about this a week earlier, if that makes sense. So I'm sure we're going to be on more than 91 subscribers now. But we are doing a 100 subscriber Q&A special. Which we're going to be recording next, hopefully for the following week, assuming we get to 100 by then. So if you have got a question for us, let us know in the comment section below and we will answer it for you in our Q&A 100 subscriber special. If you want to leave a request for another album for us to listen to, please do. And I think that is pretty much it. So we will see you on Wednesday for the reaction video, and then next week for the next video, which, as I said, hopefully will be our 100 subscriber special. If not, if we haven't got there yet, it will be another review. So take care and see you again very soon. Goodbye.